just the passive components. Active filter has some sort of power electronic components, namely maybe diode, thyristor, or SCR, or even IGBT. Not only even nowadays, those are standards. So IGBT or MOSFETs are not usually used, and more high power devices. It may happen some of them may have the passive filter and active filter, both of them, combination of them. And finally, we would study, although a bit, I would say, old in terms of the technological life, however, that's still prevalent because those are still used. Not I would not say still. Those would be used for, I would say, not only very near, however, for a long future also. So that is another type is SBC. So SBC usually is not used for generalized load. Load means we usually don't use SBC uh, uh, for even for usual may not happen for even for low size industry. So these are mainly used by the maybe I would say used by large industries and the power supply, uh, uh, the I would say distribution or power suppliers. Okay. Let's take one by one. Passive filters here usually those we usually use shunt passive filters, series passive filters. Of course, those are used. However, let's restrict ourselves into the discussion of shunt passive filters. If you check here, there the source is shown here, and ZSRC is the source impedance. Of course, because we are discussing about harmonics, the source impedance should be shown here. That must be there. We, in ideal cases, or when we discuss consider ideal characteristics of the circuits, we usually don't consider this source impedance. However, that would be there when you study. You should take into account when you study any power electronics system. The nonlinear load is represented by this ANL, and at the PCC, okay, here we come across a now new term called PCC. So PCC, the full form is point of common coupling. So point of common coupling actually is a, I would say, completely technical term which has its definition from the electrical standards in the sense if this is mainly defined in terms of the IEEE 519, which I mentioned in a slide a bit earlier. Those are that gives you the harmonic standards. Nowadays, however, point of common coupling is a generalized technical term which is used more or less in any standard and literature. So while we discuss harmonics in the line or distribution system, so what is this point of common coupling? I am not going into the technical definition that you can find. Otherwise, I can give you. However, if you point of common coupling may be considered to be the point where more, I would say most uh, the loads are connected mostly in the sense if you consider, let's say you are connected as few household, so then the point where the most of the households are connected, from your point of view, that can be considered a point of common coupling. However, if there are, let's say you are considering another nonlinear load or passive filters or some sort of filter connected to restrict the power, bypass the harmonic somewhere where there would be several other loads also connected, so that can be also considered a point of common coupling. So it depends upon, there is no such thing I should absolute point of common coupling. However, you can, from this may change depending upon the connection of the load. Okay. So here we are considering that the nonlinear load and is connected to the point of common coupling, where there may be several other nonlinear loads are also connected. So we would connect a passive filters in terms of this L and C such that sorry, this they should be tuned to a specific harmonic frequency by using this relationship that if this is tuned at uh, nth harmonic of the fundamental frequency, so that means this would be tuned in such a way that n into omega l equals to 1 by omega c, the very popular known equation. And so that means if the nonlinear load produces the nth harmonic component of current, that current would find a find a low impedance bypass path through this L and combination of this L and C. Now you see here this consideration of ZSRC becomes much more important, because if you don't connect ZSRC here, and that's actually the practical point, that ZSRC would always be there. However, if you don't consider that, from from the even for your I would say simplification, that would be a disastrous thing, because if you consider the G, that by circuit representation, that is an ideal source, so that means the impedance of that ideal source is zero. So that means there is no point in connecting the L and C here, because we already have a low impedance bypass path through this voltage source. So that ZSRC consideration, or representing this ZSRC or source impedance here, is a very important point that you must show here. Otherwise, the L and C combination cannot create a low impedance path, because there already exists a lowest impedance path in terms of the voltage source. So this SRC or source impedance must be shown. Usually the source impedance value is less than 5%. You can safely consider that to be less than 3% also. Okay. So as you can see here from that, as n becomes higher, so omega L and omega C, because that is the inverse of the n. So values of L and C requirement becomes lower. However, as n becomes lower, or if you want to bypass a lower harmonic frequency, so in that case the L and sizes of L and C would be much higher. So that means that also means you can actually I would say visualize that as long as you try to bypass lower harmonics, the size of this LC filter becomes higher and higher. So that's why usually we should try to it's not in use it's not our point here. However, if you try to somehow remove the lower harmonics, you should not use LC filter. You should try to find some other mean, because that would make your LC filter size very high. Not only your LC filter size would be very high, however, if you produce some lower harmonics, and usually because other impedances are low, so lower harmonic current, I am not saying that this cannot be low, because it depends upon your load. However, other impedances at lower harmonics become being low, usually the current would become high. So due to that, not only the LC size itself, however, their current capability must be high for lower harmonics. And further, if you want to remove, let's say, if you want to remove third harmonic, you require one LC filter to tune that third harmonic. Then if you want to remove fifth harmonic, let's say, then you require another tuned LC filter, such that you can remove or bypass the fifth harmonic by using a filter tuned at fifth harmonic. This way, 7th, 11th, 7th, 9th, 11th, that would go on. Okay. So, okay. So this way we require several number of LC filters to remove each harmonic or individual harmonics. Now consider a tuned LC filter like this, and let's try to find what would be the fundamental frequency of the LC filter, or impedance of the LC filter at fundamental. So that is represented by ZLC1. So let's the for a given LC filter, the impedance of that would be, of course, this is easy to find, that there would be j omega L minus j omega C. So if you simplify that, that would look like this. Now put here, if the LC filter is tuned at nth harmonic, so that means if you go back here, so L into C would be equals to 1 by n omega square, or you just put omega square equals to 1 by n square LC, or you put here uh, omega square equals to 1 by n square into LC, and go on simplifying things. So here you would find that this should become something like this, and finally if we further simplify, represent this in terms of this, so we have a minus here, and we have a constant term in terms of this, or we can take the omega to be constant with this. So we have a impedance value at fundamental that comes to be a capacitive impedance. You check here further, there is no, I would say, contradiction here. Here, this is minus j omega minus 1 by, sorry, minus j by omega c. However, of course, omega, or we can consider this is k omega, or you can also consider this is omega into kc. So as if the capacitor value has been modified. You can look anyway. That does not make any difference. So, if a filter is tuned at let's say n greater than one, if frequency where order of the harmonics is n greater than of the harmonics n is greater than one, so that filter would behave like a capacitor at the fundamental frequency. So that also means we have a benefit here in for this L and LC filter, tuned LC filter, that it would behave like like a capacitor at the fundamental. So what is the advantage of that? Advantage is that that would supply some sort of reactive power to the load, which are usually lagging in nature. So if you remember your first year class or something like that, so they are for a lagging load that absorbs the reactive power. So so that means we require some sort of capacitor banks to improve the power factor. Improve the power factor in the sense we cannot actually improve the power factor by reducing the harmonic. We can only improve the power factor in terms of the displacement angle. So that the power factor which is represented, or the mathematical value is cosine theta for the displacement angle. So as the displacement angle reduces, as long as you supply the reactive power locally by using a capacitor bank or so, so in that case the power factor improves. So the same thing happens here. If you have, if we use an LC filter here, which is tuned at n greater than, let's say, one. So in that case, for fundamental, that behaves like a capacitive impedance. So that means that would be able to supply some sort of reactive power. So there would be a power factor improvement in terms of the displacement factor. Of course, due to the presence of the LC filter, the harmonic at which it is tuned, that would also be reduced. So that there would be, of course, improvement in terms of the distortion factor also. So that was, however, that was the point. However, we are getting an advantage, or yeah, it's a bonus in terms of this reactive power compensation. Now, so now everything is not rosy here. So if we connect, let's say, if here look at the picture here. So here with the PCC we have several nonlinear nodes connected. So let's say nonlinear node NL is for yourself, which is connected to the PCC, or at your household. However, at the same point, we have the nonlinear nodes connected due to other household, or let's say other industries. This way, there may be several such nonlinear nodes connected. So now, at your premises, if you consider that your nonlinear load is generating some harmonics, to remove the harmonics or bypass the harmonics, you have connected an LC filter. So that LC filter is shown with parallel to the NL, which is your nonlinear load. Now the problem is that at the nonlinear load 2 and 3, they are also creating several harmonics, that, and usually it may happen they are also producing the harmonic, let's say, where let's say this is for order of the harmonics h, and this should also produce order of the harmonics h, this should also produce order of the harmonics h. Now as long as, let's say, consider, let's say, for the time being, that this ls is not there, so in that case, because of this ZSRC produces a higher impedance for higher harmonics, so that means this H harmonic for this nonlinear load would find a bypass path through this. However, not only this nonlinear load would find a bypass path, because of this nonlinear load, they would also find a bypass path like through here, and this would also, this for the nonlinear load 3, it would also find a bypass path for the H harmonic through this. So usually the LC filter would be, the size of the LC filter would be calculated depending upon the requirement of, you should analyze how much, let's say, nth harmonic or H harmonic, order of harmonic would be generated, and what would be their magnitude, and depending upon that, you need to calculate what should be the size, because L and C, remember, their size is not only dictated by just their values in the sense, if you consider an inductor, The size of this depends on two aspects. Of course, frequency is another aspect. However, the first aspect is the inductance value that is given in henries, usually milli or microhenries. For this, maybe millihenries, and for the capacitor, which is given by the for the inductance, that is given by henries, and for the current rating of the inductor. So for the same Henry value, if the current rating increases, the size of the inductor would also increase. Now, frequency remains a factor here. However, because we are discussing about power line, so there the frequency is usually constant. So that's not should not be a point here. However, if you consider a power electronic load, in that case, the size of the inductor will be dictated by the frequency also, if the frequency is variable. For the capacitor also same thing happens. If the capacitor, there is a restriction in the size. On the first thing is that the farad value, microfarad value, and another point is the RMS current that can be passed through the capacitance. So it may happen the capacitor may not have the capability to cater that much RMS current. So that means you need to connect further capacitors in parallel, keeping in view of your capacity microfarad requirement. So that way the capacitor bank size for the same LC filter may increase or decrease depending upon your requirement of the harmonic current that to be bypassed. Now, so you have designed an LC filter such that keeping an eye with the harmonic current that can be generated by your nonlinear load. However, uh, uh, due to the presence of nonlinear load 2 and 3, they are also putting some load or harmonic load in your LC filter. So due to that, your LC filter may be overburdened. So overburdened, and that may damage or that may hamper the normal operation of the LC filter. So problem is that C may not have that much problem in the sense, of course, that would be a problem because of the heating, and further due to the deterioration of the dielectric inside the capacitor. And for the inductor, there may be problem in the sense inductor may become saturated due to high current, and once that becomes saturated or under the nonlinear part of the BH curve, so the inductance value changes. Once the inductance value changes, that would not be tuned at the LC value or the frequency value. So that way, this would hamper the normal operation, and further this can be damaged also. So this point of you unintentionally drawing other harmonics from the other nonlinear load is called the import of harmonics. So as if you are importing the harmonics, drawing the harmonics from other sources, which was not at all, I would say, expected. So your LC filter was tuned for the nonlinear load, which is there at your premises. So for that, you have put an LC filter there. Now, how can we restrict that? I would say problem. So this problem can be reduced if for that we need to use a small LS, which you can consider as the source impedance further from the PCC. So so this LS, what to do from this nonlinear load, if you consider from this side. Okay, sorry. Okay. If you consider from this side, this L and C is tuned at, let's say, H harmonic. However, if you consider from this side, this L and C is not till now. If there was no LS, the filter was tuned at LC. However, by the incorporation of LS from the point of view of the nonlinear load 2, the filter becomes L plus LS in series with the C. So that means the tuning value of the filter has changed. So due to the presence of ALS, that would create two aspects. First aspect is that would increase the impedance. If you consider a harmonic, so the harmonic frequency is higher compared to the fundamental. So as long as the harmonic order increases, the impedance of the LS, because that is proportional to omega L, so proportional to omega also. So that means the impedance of the LS increases. So due to that, that would restrict more and more higher harmonics. Further, the value of the inductance for the LC, looking from the nonlinear load 2 and nonlinear load 3 point of view, the value of the inductance has changed. So due to that, the tuning of the inductance would change. Sorry, tuning of the LC filter would change. So this is no longer the LC filter put there for nonlinear load NL or at your premise. So so premises that would not be tuned for the nonlinear load 2 and 3. Okay, so usually this LS is so selected, you cannot just select any LS. You need to, while selecting the LS, you need to keep an eye on the already existing, I would say, already existing LC filters there. So you should select an LS such that the tuning of the L or any possible, I would say, LC filter that does not become to be tuned as any other harmonics. Let's say, to give you an example, let's say the LC filter you have connected is tuned at third harmonic. Now if you connect an LS, so of course that would be tuned, that of course that the frequency of tuning that would increase because the L value has increased. So, okay, I'm making a mistake. So as the L value increases, the frequency of tuning would reduce. So that means, the let's say this is tuned at seventh harmonic. So it may happen that that becomes tuned at fifth harmonic. So if the in nonlinear load 2 is producing a fifth harmonic component, so that means the LS and LC filter combined, that forms a filter, passive filter tuned at fifth harmonic. So that would once again start drawing the fifth harmonic current. So to circumvent this, we need to select LS such that no LC filter combined with LS is tuned at any odd harmonic. Usually they are tuned at some frequency which comes in between one add on odd and one even harmonic also. So sometimes they would be tuned at some even harmonic, sometimes they would be tuned at some frequency which is not usually, I would say, not tuned at all at any harmonic. Okay, so this way we can restrict the other nonlinear load from polluting the, or I would say, burdening the connected LC filter. So these things are written here. Okay, let's come back to the active power filter. So passive power filter, they consists of only L and C. Now active power filter actually is a combination, or actually is a power electronic converter. The idea here is that, let's say, the nonlinear load represented here by a diode bridge rectifier that is producing this sort of a current here, load represented by the load current. You may ask whether we see this sort of a current in diode bridge rectifier. It may not happen. So however, to give you if you consider a three-phase load with a high inductive load, so on the DC side, so in that case you may see a nonlinear load like the, or load current like this, which is square wave, which is similar to a square wave. However, these usually have 120 degree conduction period. So that's why there is a jump, or there is a 0 point there. Now, this nonlinear load or load current, if you try to find the Fourier series or Fourier analysis, if you do a Fourier analysis of this and subtract the fundamental from the load current there, you would find as if the harmonic part which would be there, once you remove the fundamental from the load current, fundamental load current from the fundamental of the load current from the total load current, you would find that would create, or the current wave shape would look like this. So this consists of all possible harmonics, and all possible harmonics that is there inside the load current spectrum, uh, uh, and only without the fundamental. So now our distribution system dictates, or for a very good, I would say, load or linear load, there should be only the fundamental, which is actually which should resemble to the voltage voltage applied by the voltage supplied by the distribution system, or even the transmission system, whatever. So if we can locally supply this load current minus the fundamental current, So that means the we are supplying, the load is drawing or load is actually pushing some sort of harmonic current here. Load is pushing some sort of harmonic current which looks like this. Now if we can locally supply a filter current or current which is like this, thus as shown as by the filter current, and actually I did not miss, actually I deliberately suppressed it, that the current supplied by the filter current is just opposite to the filter current, opposite to the load current or the harmonic load current, where there is no this load filter current need not supply any fundamental. This can supply all possible harmonic current to the nonlinear load. In that case, at this point of, or you can say point of common coupling, the filter current harmonic, sorry, no, nonlinear load current harmonic, nonlinear load harmonics, and the filter current harmonics would combine each other and they would cancel each other. And at the from the source point of view, you would get only the sinusoidal load current. So this way, by using using an active power filter, we can actually supply the amount of load, I would say amount of harmonics, those are generated by the nonlinear load, and that way if we compensate the, here we are compensating instead of bypassing or restricting, bypassing, or I would say instead of bypassing. So if we can compensate this way, we can actually make the line current much smoother or much more or less sinusoidal, or actually it depends upon the efficiency or the topology of the active power filter. So as this is connected here in parallel, so this is shunt, this is called shunt active power filter. Usually shunt active power filters are modeled, or they behave like a current source, so they can supply any amount of course they are depending upon their size, they can supply the harmonic currents all. And usually one shunt active filter will be able to supply any amount of, not any amount, any harmonic current you want. So any harmonic current means any order of harmonic current. So one active filter can supply you, let's say, third, fifth, seventh, ninth, 11th, up to which, up to whatever frequency theoretically you can ask for. However, a passive filter can bypass or can restrict only one harmonic. So if that is tuned at fifth harmonic, they would bypass only fifth harmonic. They cannot do anything about third or seventh harmonic or any other harmonic. A shunt active filter, however, can do that. It can take into account any order of harmonics. However, the magnitude of the harmonic current, that would depend. An active filter can be connected in series also. In that case, that would be able to, I would say, better the voltage waveform. So they would change, or they would modify the voltage waveform such that the voltage supplied at the load, they become more or less or that become more or less sinusoidal. So this way, a shunt active power filter that would operate. So any confusion here, please ask me. So here we have another aspect which is not shown here, that is the control of the shunt active power filter, or shunt of control of the active power filter. So for the control of active power filter, let's say this is the source, and here there is a nonlinear load that can be represented by this nonlinear load, and we would measure the current here that by using some sort of CT, and we would monitor the current here, and from that we would try to find, or actually try to extract the harmonics. So, and here for the sake of simplicity, I am showing here the whole thing. This is let's say this block is for control and monitoring. So this the point is that it would actually take into account the non current drawn by the nonlinear load, and it would extract the harmonics and find how much harmonics or how much harmonic current is there, and how much harmonic current is there, and that need to be compensated. So now you'd have the actual active power filter, which I am representing here by this, let's say, inverter, or sometimes that is represented by this. Oh, sorry. IGBT. And of course we require a capacitor to be here such that we didn't have a DC bus. So we also need to take into account the voltage of this capacitor represented by this VDC, and that also need to be fed to this control block. That is a requirement. You actually we cannot discuss the inside of this here, that is not our point. So this VDC or the V capacitor voltage that need to be monitored. So depending upon these two, because the control block has two has another I would say job in the sense that it need to monitor the harmonic currents, and to compensate further it has also to be it also has to maintain the VDC. Why is that? Hopefully, I guess you have studied the inverter. Actually, this active power filter behaves very similarly to an inverter. It would actually convert the DC voltage to the to the AC voltage, such that the harmonic frequencies or the harmonic currents are generated, and that would be able that would compensate the harmonic current generated by the nonlinear load. For that, the DC voltage must be there, because if the DC voltage is not there, so we cannot actually convert any energy source, or energy from DC to AC. So due to that, this control or monitoring part must take into account the DC voltage across the capacitor, and that DC voltage must be maintained. Okay. So now there would be some sort of filter depending upon the I would say operation. Usually LC or LCL filters are there. So LC filter is for the when that is connected in series. LC filters are not usually used when the for the shunt active power filter. For shunt active power filter, usually the filters are L or LCL filters. Okay. So filter current is not usually measured. Sometimes it depends upon the topology. This filter current may be measured. So taking into account these three, I would say this is optional. Unfortunately, I cannot uh, make this dotted. So this is optional. Okay. So this way, taking into account this, the non current drawn by the nonlinear load, and the DC bus voltage or the capacitor voltage, the control and monitoring block would generate control pulses, usually the switching pulses, and that would be supplied to the inverter or to the active power filter, such that it can switch or invert the DC voltage to generate the amount of harmonics required to compensate the current generated by the nonlinear load. So once again, if you have any question, please ask me here. Hybrid filter, this is a combination of active power filter and a passive power filter. Here this is shown here as the active in an active power converter by using the left hand side shows you, okay, from the utility, an active power filter is shown here, and the passive power filter is also connected across the load. So it may happen that here there active power, the usage of this hybrid filter is that, or why this is required. We can have the passive filter only on or active filter only. However, if we connect them in parallel, the size of both of them actually reduces. So active filter can also take into account some part of the passive filter component. That means even if the passive filter, there are passive filter for several harmonics, so active filter load for those harmonics actually are reduced. Other than that, this can cater for the other harmonics for which there are no active filters connected. So the left hand side one, A, that here the power converter shown is connected, actually connected in series by using a transformer. Otherwise, sometimes we can directly connect, which is not usually not advisable. Otherwise, we can of course do that. That theoretically that is possible. Practically also, however, okay, so that is series active power filter. So that is connected in series. That is connected in series to modify the voltage. On the right hand side, shown by B, we have the shunt active power filter. However, that is connected in series with the passive filter. So in series with the passive filter. So this can be, and once again, of course, the passive filter, active filter can be connected in parallel also. So it may, in that case, they should look something like this. Okay. So this is the representation where the active filter is in parallel with the passive shunt passive filter. So both of them are shunt filter. However, active filter and passive filter both are connected in shunt. In the earlier case, where the if you just remove the blue part, in that case, the active filter and passive filters are both are connected. They are connected in series. However, with respect to the load, they are connected in shunt. Once again. So this was about hybrid filter. Now let's come to the last point of this chapter, that is the static Bhar compensator. So static Bhar compensator is actually combination of I'd say modifiable. This is not an completely an active power filter. However, this is a version of the I would say power filter, which is in between the passive filter and an active filter. So what is there? All of them may not be the, I would say, part of the static Bhar compensator, which is in short called SVC. So here as the grid, there is grid connection shown here. Step down transformer may not be there. So the active static Bhar compensator technology is so matured, and there are the thyristors are available or ACRs are available at so I would say voltage and both high current. Nowadays, that static Bhar compensators can be connected directly to the transmission, even I would say low voltage transmission line, maybe of the order of if I remember properly, you can connect to 33 kV directly and 132 kV. I actually don't remember. So, static Bhar compensator need not have the step down transformer. Otherwise, okay, this mechanically, the left hand side mechanically connected switch, this is optional. This may not be there. Usually, nowadays this is not there. Mechanically connected capacitors, of course, this can be there. However, usually those are nowadays those are also removed, because we have semiconductor switches which are I would say lower in cost. Further, we can connect, we can actually operate them operate them much more in a much more easier way in the mechanical. We cannot connect or control the mechanical switches here at that very high voltage. We require some sort of motor operation, or let's say what is that called, the servo operation, that sort of way, such that the mechanical switches can be controlled from a distance, and thereby connect that. So that may be, there may be failure, and further that require energy, that require more power, and that requires other arrangements also, which can be which is a bit I would say complex, not complex in the sense they require maintenance. However, if we use some sort of power electronic components, namely mainly ACRs here also, so those can be removed and we can control the ACR turn on and turn off ACRs very easily. So that way this makes the system more compact and efficient also. Okay. So the harmonic filter shown here is the passive LC filter. This L and C filters are there. Otherwise, we can have, or usually we may have fixed capacitors here. So that may be represented by written as FC, which is the full form is fixed capacitor. So passive filters may be or may not be. Once again, may be or may not be the part. The I would say predominant part of the static Var compensator is TCR, this is thyristor control reactor, and thyristor switched capacitor TSC. These two are predominant, I would say, components. So they must be there. I would not say. However, in a static Var compensator, you can always usually you would always find these two components there. So TSC is the thyristor control switch, thyristor switch capacitor. So here once again this inductor may not be there. So thing is that I took this from internet. However, this is a very generalized diagram and several things may not be there. Usual, not I am not saying may not be. These generally is not there. However, and usually you don't require them nowadays. Okay. So depending upon the okay, what the static Var compensator does, this actually does not remove the capacitance. Sorry, this does not remove the harmonics. Okay, these are usually used. A static Var compensator is usually used just to compensate Var or the reactive power. That's why the name is called static the Var compensator. And as this uses the static electronic component or the they do not have any rotating members, so that's why this is called static Var compensator. So in fact, okay, we will make this point a little bit later. So depending upon the requirement, because you cannot actually connect a capacitor of any value to the line in that, because and the problem is that as long as the voltage remains same, the capacitor would supply reactive power or constant reactive power. So what is the problem there? If you consider from the power factor point of view, it usually does not matter whether your power factor is positive or negative. The only problem is that, or I would say, only problem is that if the power factor is low, if the reactive power supplied or reactive power drawn is high, in that case power factor would be low. So whether it does not matter whether you are supplying reactive power or drawing reactive power, as long as the reactive power component is high, your power factor would be low and you would be penalized. So due to that, uh, the static or the capacitor bank should not be, or the value of the capacitor should not be kept constant. You either use some sort of mechanical switch such that time to time you measure, check what is the reactive power drawn or reactive power supplied from the line, reactive power drawn from the line, lagging reactive power, and depending upon that you just connect the capacitor such that you can compensate the reactive power. Other than that, we can consider we can have a mechanical, electronic control such that that to check directly the what is the amount of reactive power by checking the displacement angle for the current and voltage, and depending upon that, it will decide by itself. And nowadays, with the presence of microcontrollers, and not only that, actually you don't require that. By using analog circuits, we can do that. So that's not very difficult. So using that, we can control the thyristor such that number of capacitors can be connected. The number of capacitors can be removed from the circuit depending upon the requirement of the reactive power that to be supplied. So by changing so that changes the values of the capacitor by incorporating, connecting some extra capacitor to the circuit, or removing the capacitor from the circuit already existing. So due to that, by doing that, we can change the value of the capacitor and we can change the value of the reactive power that is supplied to the system. Now, what is with the thyristor control reactor? Okay. So thyristor control reactor is consists of, it need not have these two inductors shown here. Usually you require only one inductor. This may be the upper inductor may be shown, maybe the source inductance. That's actually you need not show here because the for the thyristor control reactor the inductor value shown here at the bottom is of much higher value. So you can show only one inductor there. That's not a problem. So here there would be back-to-back SCRs here and inductor shown here at the bottom. So that would be connected in between the voltage source and the I would say in between the across the voltage source here. So the TSC and TCR, they come in parallel. Now how that TCR behaves? If you connect the TCR and remember, let's say this is the voltage. For the timing, I'm considering that the voltage is purely sinusoidal. That makes our life easier. So now if you just turn on the thyristor at the zero triggering angle. So actually you need not do that. We need to, because there is an inductor that would start, I would say, carrying current or start drawing current at the 90 degree of the voltage, because the current through the inductor would lag by 90 degree. So you should turn on the thyristor at 90 degree on, let's say, the for the which such that it can carry positive half of the current. So the inductor current would look something like this, considering that you have turned at exactly at 90 degree for on both the sides. Now, what would happen if you just instead of doing that, if you just delay the triggering angle further? If you delay the triggering angle further, let's say the for you have delayed by this duration. So in that case there would be a current like this. So further you would delay for this period, and further if you turn on, there would be current like this. So on this side there would be current like this. So you see, as we delay the firing angle of the SCRs, the current, you look here, the RMS current through the inductor, that changes. So as if we can say from the opposite view, that the inductance size or the inductance value of the inductance for the if you look from the fundamental point of view, the value of the inductance actually changes. So we have the same inductance connected. However, using a combination of SCRs, we can modify the or delay the firing angle such that we can say that as if the inductance value has changed, and so due to the changed value of the inductance, current drawn from the source has reduced or it has increased, or current drawn from the inductance should change. Now what is the actual function of this? Now remember, so we can have um, for the TSC for this block. Okay, where is the pointer? Okay, so for this block we can have capacitors of several values which are constant values, not or say stepped values. Stepped values in the sense, if you connect the capacitor, we usually connect the capacitor in terms of this, that ratio 1 is to 2 is to sorry, uh, yes, so 1 is to 2 is to 5, or that sort. So that means if you consider that we have connected capacitors of, let's say, 100 microfarad, then one capacitor is connected as 100 microfarad, then 200 microfarad, then 200 microfarad, or there are other combinations also. This is a very popular thing, you studied in your madhyamik syllabus. That's why I am discussing here. So you can connect 100 microfarad, then you can connect 200 microfarad, just turning of this 100 microfarad such that the reactive power is supplied due to 200 microfarad. So how much change is there? You have change in between 100 micro reactive power due to 100 microfarad and reactive power due to 200 microfarad. So then reactive power due to 300 microfarad, 400 microfarad, 500 microfarad, this way. Now what would happen if I ask you that your load asks for such that the capacitor should be connected for a reactive power of, or reactive power equivalent of 150 microfarad. Is that possible? No, this is not possible here. In that case, you need to connect capacitors of 10 microfarad, 20 microfarad, 50 microfarad, that way also. However, that is not there, so you cannot do that. So that means we can have variation of the reactive power, which would be in steps, and that is equivalent to 100 microfarads of capacitor. So you cannot have any value in between. So that is done by this TCR. So what TCR does is that, because that is an inductive reactor, that provides some inductive reactance, so that would draw from here. If you connect an inductor or TCR and control that properly, so what we that would draw reactive power. So here the TSC, that is the capacitor bank, that is supplying the reactive power. However, TCR is drawing the reactive power from here. So this is supplying reactive power and this is absorbing reactive power. This is sourcing reactive power. This is sinking reactive power. So what we would do is, we would, for let's say we require 250 microfarad of capacitance for any at any instant. So we would connect a 300 microfarad of capacitance for the reactive power requirement, and we would control the TCR such that it can take away the reactive power equivalent of 50 microfarad capacitor. So this way, from the 300 microfarad, this should be taken out, and we would be left with 250 of reactive power, which is equivalent to the 250 microfarad of capacitor. Okay. So, or I can say, let's say you require 3 VAR. So in that case, you require 250 VAR. So you supply 300 VAR, and by using a TCR, you draw 50 VAR, absorb 50 VAR, such that you would be left with, from 300 VAR, you would be left, yeah, 350 VAR would be subtracted, and you would supply the SPC would supply from the system, or to the system of the earlier, to the outerward load, a equivalent value of 250 VAR. So this way, by the combination of TSC and TCR, and sometimes a fixed capacitor, SPC would operate to supply you any amount of reactive power, and that control can be smoothly done by using a TCR, where that would absorb some sort of reactive power, extra reactive power supplied by TSC, and this can be control can be very smooth, because we can delay the firing angle smoothly for a TSC by using an SCR, the SCR firing angle delay can be delayed, and by using that we can control the reactive power very smoothly by using this static Mach compensator. Now, if you check here, the current through the drawn by the TCR is non-linear, that is not sinusoidal. So that means we should actually incorporate or introduce some sort of harmonics instead of, I would say, removing some harmonics. So SPC can supply any amount of reactive power, compensate reactive power. That's why this is a Var compensator. However, it cannot compensate the harmonics. Actually, it would introduce harmonics instead of absorbing harmonics. So that is all for this chapter. If you have any question here on this chapter, you please ask me. So I would move to the next chapter here. Here, actually, truly speaking, I don't have much of notes here. So that's why I didn't give you any notes on this chapter. Uh, Almost all part of this chapter is available in the Partha book, and I would suggest you either collect a book, copy of Partha book anyhow, by procuring or by collecting from the library. So I advise you to do that. So this is about electrical heating. So up until now, all electrical heating generated by the electrical apparatus was was meant to be harmful. Harmful in the sense that means there is some sort of energy is lost there. So that reduces the efficiency, that creates, or I would say, reduces the life of the apparatus. That create other problems also. However, here for this class, electrical heating is the source of the energy. That means the efficient, I would say, conversion of energy from electrical energy to heating energy. So this is not a loss. Of course, there would be loss would be there because uh, we are trying to produce heat such that we can use the heat there. However, because of production of heat, and there may be because of the purpose to control the heat, we may happen to have some other apparatus, some sort of control there also, where there will be some sort of heat generated, which may not be we may not be able to use for the purpose we are generating the heat. So in that case, that would be called some sort of loss. However, anyway, so here our main purpose is to generate heating from the electrical energy or electrical power. Electrical heating has several advantages. Okay. We can go through that. I am going through a few points. So advantage is that this is clean, no dust or ash would be generated. If you consider mechanical heating, there would be some sort of flue gas, coal, or that sort of fuel would be burned. So there would be some sort of dust, ash, or the flue gas can be generated, which is harmful for nature, harmful for our health anyway. So this is mechanical. You can actually don't require the installation cost, which is much higher for the mechanical system. You don't need to store the fuel in the sense if you require your fuel is coal. In that case, you require coal to be transported and that to be stored for use at different point of time. So you require huge amount of storage depending upon the, of course, size of the installation. However, electrical power, you actually don't require that to be stored. We can control easily. We can control the electrical heating very easily. Actually, for the mechanical system, that is a bit difficult because something is burning. You cannot control the burning very precisely, which you can do for electrical energy or electrical conversion. If it may happen, we have some specific heating requirement that we need to heat only some part of the I would say job here. Actually, this the part which we are going to heat is called charge for electrical heating. So let's stick with that. If we need to heat only some part of the charge, so in that case, that can be done by using electrical system or electrical heating. We cannot do that by using mechanical heating or known form of heating. Further, it may happen we have to heat an insulator, insulator of heat. Usually, the problem with the insulators are that they are usually insulators for electrical energy, and further they are insulators for the heating also, or heat energy also. So if you want to heat up or heat up the insulating materials, it's not usually not possible by using a mechanical heating system. So there, electrical energy becomes to be the only option. We have higher efficiency because in mechanical heating, most of the a big chunk of the heat energy, big lion's share of the heat energy that would be wasted through the chimney or so. Okay, we have better safety here because we can start and stop the heating. Of course, not the heated material that would remain heated. However, we can stop the heating at any point of time within a very short duration. Now, we would study electrical heating here for these many different types. So electrical heating can be power frequency heating without changing any frequency here. We will just directly use the supply source from the mains. So power frequency heating, we would study mainly the resistive heating. So out of resistive heating, we will discuss two aspects: direct resistive heating, indirect resistive heating. We will discuss about arc heating. Out of that, once again, direct arc heating, indirect arc heating. We will discuss about high frequency heating, where we would change the frequency of the supply using different methods that may or may not be. I have to check whether that is in your syllabus or not. However, the heating part is there. That we would mainly discuss about induction heating and dielectric heating, which comes in under the purview of high frequency heating. And under induction heating, we have different mainly two types: cold type heating and cold-less heating. Here also we have direct induction heating and indirect induction heating. However, we would restrict ourselves into mainly two parts: indirect cold type induction heating and coldless induction heating. So what is this direct and indirect heating? So we may have some sort, we would have some sort of material to be heated or mostly melted, and this should be called charge. So remember this term here, charge, of course, because we are discussing electrical heating, charge has a electrical significance, has an electrical significance for the transfer of electrical energy. However, for the heating, charge also means the material which we are going to heat or melt. So that is the charge here. So when you say charge in this class, you need to understand that, not in terms of the electron, protons, or neutrons, or that sort of the charge for the electrons or protons like that. So when current passes through the charge, of course, there will be I square into R, I square into R heating, and other types of heating also. However, here we would call that if the current passes directly through the charge, or current passes through the charge, we would call that direct heating. And if the current does not pass through the charge, we would call that indirect heating. We will go into that. So direct resistance heating is when there is current passes through the charge, and due to that there would be I square heat produced through the charge. And a good example, generalized example of this direct resistance heating is salt bath furnace, and we will discuss about salt bath furnace not in the next class. Okay, how much time do I have? And 11. Okay, I have time. So we will discuss salt bath furnace here. So that is one example of direct resistance heating. Allow me a few minutes. So how the salt bath furnace looks like? Look like. Okay. So you can consider as if there would be a pot like this. I hope you can see the board here or what I am discussing. So inside this there would be different types of metallic materials, and to that we would put electrodes like this. We would apply voltage here such that there would be current passing through this, and due to that there would be I square R loss or I square R heat generated, and due to that there would be heating, and finally they would melt. This would melt depending upon the requirement. It may happen we have to melt that, may not require to melt then. So what? So inside a salt bath furnace, the charge here is okay. Sorry, I made a mistake here. Inside the salt bath furnace, the charge here is not the metallic part. Usually, these are some sort of salts. So this may be depending upon the requirement of metal processing of the metal. Usually, these are used for processing the metals. Different types of processing, maybe carbonizing, incorporating some sort of carbon inside the metal, and this may be for tempering, quenching, hardening of steel. Different aspects of metal processings are there, and depending upon the requirement of heating, the salt bath furnace would have different types of salts. So it may be chloride, fluoride, then sulfur, then there may be cyanide. So the different types of salts should be there, and once the current passes through that, due to heating, they would be due to heating, the heat generated, they would melt, and now the metal parts would be dipped into the furnace or dipped into the salt, such that they would be heated up to different I would say temperature. And the best thing about this is that they would be heated in absence of the oxygen. So thereby they would be treated in absence of the hydro oxygen. So due to that, we can have different types of metal processing or different heat treatment. So in absence of air and of course water, the material, if the material oxidizes somehow, the material may become brittle. So due to that, and the properties changes usually for the metals, the properties changes once that becomes oxidized. So even metallic property may change. So due to that, we need to perform the metallic treatment in absence of the air or oxygen. Now for single DC supply, salt bath furnace, okay, this is salt bath furnace. So as if the metal is given a bath in the salt. Okay. So this can be a DC, this can be supplied by DC. In that case, we require only two electrodes to be connected. This can be a single phase AC supply. In that case, also we require only two electrodes to be connected. This can be a three-phase source also. If that is supplied by three phases, in that case, we require three electrodes to be connected. There will be current in between any two possible electrodes, and however, there would be due to that current, there would be heat generated. So now, usually because the resistance or impedance of the salt is low, so due to that, we require a small voltage, usually of the order of around 2 to 20 volts maximum. I'm saying of the order of that. Okay, sorry, 20 volt it seems. So 2 to 20 volts that need to be supplied. So if that is supplied by DC, so that in that case we require some sort of converter such that the voltage is lowered. Otherwise, converter can be in terms of the chopper, or that can be that can be in terms of the, if that is supplied from AC, we should have a transformer such that we can reduce the voltage, step down the voltage, such that the voltage supplied across the electrodes are lower. And if this is supplied from DC also, supplied by DC also, and we have AC supply and the transformer available, so we can have a diode bridge rectifier such that, of course, here also we need to take into account the harmonics. So it depends upon the structure, and it depends upon the, of course, the cost or the actually the amount of capital you have. Okay. So the step down transformer need to be used such that the voltage supply becomes lower. So initially, when the salt is, I would say, not molten and that is solid, so initially you may require higher voltage. As the salt melts, the resistance impedance of the salt becomes lower. So as that becomes lower, you have to reduce the voltage further, and finally at certain point this becomes constant. So so the resistance or the impedance reduces, and finally you have to reduce the voltage at certain point, and finally that may become a constant value. So now, usually for a normal electrical conductor or any electrical conductor, as the temperature increases, the resistance becomes higher. However, for salt usually, or this sort of material, as the temperature increases, the resistance becomes lower. So we need some sort. You need to regulate the transformer, or you need to modify the transformer. Usually, the tap or turns ratio has that voltage across the secondary, where you can control the voltage across the secondary. Now, in some cases, when the salt bath furnace is started, so okay. Salt. Okay. Further, we can also change the distance between the two electrodes such that we can change the resistance in between. However, it depends how much a change of resistance we can get by using this. And okay. And for the operation of salt bath furnace, it may happen initially. You may have lumpy salts, that means solid salts. So it may be very difficult to have actual electrical conduction. So in that case, we need to put some sort of molten salt available somewhere available. Otherwise, you have somehow need to make the electrical connection. That becomes a bit very difficult. So in that case, you should put some sort of molten salt over there such that the electrical conduction can be started. Once the electrical conduction can be started, due to the electrical conduction, there would be current, and that produces I square R electrical heating. And due to that, the electrical conduction, or I would say that the salt start melting, and the electrical conduction can be continued, maintained. Okay. Now, if once again, okay, if the charge become highly conducting, in that case, we need to put some resistive material also, such that across the face of the, I would say, electrodes, such that we can have a bit of resistance, such that we can restrict the current. Okay. So now please help me here, because I may make mistake. So let me check here. Just allow me a bit. Uh, okay. So here is a video of salt bath furnace. You can look here. The structure is not that small. I hope it is visible to you.
These are high temperature 1,000 degrees Celsius. And this is the low temperature salt bath, 580 degrees Celsius. This video was allowed by special permission by Mr. John Kiplaris and Mr. Sosnopoulos, the owner of Uda Homes GR.
Sir,
Follow.
sir, it's not clear to me that why we're using the electrical current to heat this amount of to generate this amount of heat. I mean, in this video, this is a huge amount of heat. To generate this, we need a huge current.
Yes.
It's a huge energy loss. So why we are not
Energy loss কেন
using
বলছো?
mechanical?
তুমি এনার্জি লস কেন বলছো? তুমি যখন খাবার গরম করো সেটা কি এনার্জি লস? এনার্জি ইউটিলাইজেশন তো।
হ্যাঁ স্যার, আমরা তাহলে তো মেকানিক্যাল হিটিংটা কেন ইউজ করছিলাম আমি সেটা বুঝতে পারলাম না।
মেকানিক্যাল হিটিংটা ইউজ করছি না কেন সেটা তো ডিসকাস করলাম। মেকানিক্যাল হিটিং এ অনেক প্রবলেম, মেকানিক্যাল হিটিং এর হিট লসটা অনেক বেশি, এটা একটা প্রবলেম। 2 নম্বর প্রবলেম হচ্ছে এফিসিয়েন্সি বলবো না, পলিউশন বেশি। 3 নম্বর প্রবলেম হচ্ছে কন্ট্রোল। তুমি যেভাবে মাইক্রোওয়েভে কন্ট্রোল করতে পারো বা মাইক্রোওয়েভে খাবারটাকে গরম করতে পারো, ভেতরে অবধি গরম হয় সেটা করতে পারবে না অতটা। তুমি যে কোনো খাবার এনে ভেতরটা যেভাবে গরম করতে পারো সেটা করতে পারবে না। তারপরে ধরো ইন্ডাকশন হিটিং এ যেভাবে তুমি ধরো একটা মেটালের কোনো একটা পার্ট শুধুমাত্র গরম করতে হবে, সেটা সেইভাবে প্রিসাইজলি ওইভাবে এই মেকানিক্যাল হিটিং এ পসিবল নয়। মেকানিক্যাল হিটিং এ যেখানে লোকালি তোমাকে হিটটা জেনারেট করতে হবে, লোকালি ইন দ্য সেন্স পাওয়ারটা জেনারেট করতে হবে, তোমার যেখানে দরকার সেখানেই তোমাকে করতে হবে। ইলেকট্রিক্যাল হিটিং এ যেটা সুবিধে, তুমি ইলেকট্রিক্যাল পাওয়ার যেটা কিনা অফকোর্স পলিউট করছে তুমি বলতেই পারো, কিন্তু সেটা পলিউশনটা আমি এমন জায়গায় করতে পারি যেখানে কিনা লোকালিটি থেকে অনেকটা দূরে করতে পারি, যেখানে ওটা সহজেই ম্যানেজ করতে পারবো আমি পলিউশনটাকে কম্পারেটিভলি ইজিলি ম্যানেজ করতে পারবো উইদাউট হ্যাম্পারিং দ্য লোকাল লাইফ ডাইরেক্টলি, যেটা সহজে করা যায় পসিবল। কিন্তু মেকানিক্যাল হিটিং এর ক্ষেত্রে পসিবল না। তোমাকে যদি কলকাতার মধ্যে কোনো একটা জিনিস হিট করতে হয়, একটা বড় জিনিসকে, সেখানে তোমাকে ওখানেই হিটটা জেনারেট করতে হবে, সাম সর্ট অফ বাই বার্নিং সাম সর্ট অফ কোল অর coal, some sort of gas or any amount, different types of liquid fuel, this sort of way. Okay. So however you can do that because electrical energy can be supplied to you and you can do generate electrical heating.
Okay, sir.
So these are the advantages. So you can have a list of advantages. I just put you the most significant advantages. Probably you can get a list of around more than 20 advantages. So, and problem is not a problem. And mechanical people would say that mechanical advantage has other advantages also. Or sorry, mechanical heating has other advantages also. So this is a, I mean, say that there is an somehow you have to find a middle path. Means you have to find some optimization between electrical heating. Of course, we cannot do away with mechanical heating. there would be some sort of mechanical heating. However, electrical heating has several other advantages also. So wherever applicable, you should use the electrical heating. We cannot actually completely discard mechanical heating. So it is there, and of course electrical heating is also there. So there are companies still producing mechanical furnaces. There are companies producing electrical furnace, and they are in all of them are mostly in big business. So you are in third year. So you are in third year. So I don't know whether you are going to organize convolution. Probably that time is already over. So I don't know. Some of you where some of you maybe you were involved in convolution last year. So in convolution, there is a big company called Megathon. They actually the alumni are from our. They are the senior ranking officials are alumni of our department. So they provide generous amount for this event. So they are actually in with the business of producing the big size, I would say, furnaces. I actually don't know them personally, so I am still junior to them. So, and I don't know what type of furnace they produce. If I know they are, I guess they are in arc furnace. So we will discuss about that. However, they are a big name all over India for the furnace they produce. Okay.
So what's the name of the company, sir? Can you please tell?
Megathon,
Okay.
that is in Kolkata, and I would say established by and still operated with a very good name all over India by the alumnus of electrical engineering department, our department. Okay, so let's come back to a very peculiar thing about this. Okay, so while you were you were watching the video, I actually tried to do a few things here. Let me remove that and start once again. So let me. So I hope things are not obscure to you, because I just because I wanted to introduce things, that's why I have drawn a small diagram of that. So let me complete. Let's say, so the blue line over the top, that shows as if for the timing, please consider as if the salt has melted. So there is the molten salt and liquid salt. So and some part the electrode is controlled, and some part of the electrode is just below us, that is touching the molten salt. Okay. Now let's say for the timing, it does not matter whether we are working in AC or DC. Let's say for the timing, we are working such that at some point, or if you consider that DC to be that is fixed. So this is supplied by the positive polarity here for this electrode and the right hand side, and negative polarity for the left hand side. So this may be an AC also. In that case, you need to consider one instant of time. So that means we can consider as if the current is flowing through this way, current is coming out like this, and through the charge, current is passing this way. I hope there is no confusion here. You would agree with me. Right? Okay. So for the now, try to find what would be the direction, because there is a current through the electrode and the conductor. What would be the direction of the let's say magnetic field for the conductor when the current is going downward for the right hand side electrode? You see the current, direction of the magnetic flux would be such that the crosses should be here and the dot should be here. So I would remove once again the dot. I would remove the dots here, because that would not make any difference here. Further, it would be difficult, or that would make the diagram a bit clumsy. So if you look at the left hand side electrode, the current is moving upward, and try to find what would be the direction of the dot and cross here for the magnetic field. Once again, you would see that the cross of the magnetic field for the left hand side electrode would be like this also. So that means for the two electrodes, even inside the let's say the part of which is inside the salt, or inside the molten salt, the magnetic field situation would be like this. Okay, I hope you agree with me. If you have any confusion, or if you want to contradict, that's not a problem. Please ask me, or please raise your voice. Okay. So now look at what would happen. That now look at the salt is carrying the current directly. So that means there would be the current is to the left hand side, from the right hand side to the left hand side, as shown by the green arrow towards the left hand side. Now you try to find, because there is a magnetic field and there is a current. Of course, there would be a motion. What the motion would affect the salt. There would be a motion of the salt, so the salt would try to move due to that magnetic field and due to the current. So what would be the direction of the motion? You try with Fleming's left hand rule. So if I try with Fleming's left hand rule, the thumb pointing inside and the current, the middle finger pointing to the left hand, the motion of the salt as shown here is on the downward side. So let me remove this part of the motion of the salt would be downwards. So that means the salt, due to the magnetic field of the current and the current through the salt or current through the charge, the salt would try to move downwards. Now, for a heating system, usually it occurs because usually in our daily life we heat from the bottom. So if you consider any vessel, our known heating is from the bottom. So due to that, the part of the, let's say, if you consider liquid, that would be easier. So liquid to be heated and that comes to the top, and so and that heavy cold part at the bottom would go to the cold part at the top would go to the bottom. That would be heated up, and that would once again come to the top. So there would be a churning action, or there would be a moving action, such that full part or full of most full I would say body of the liquid, that would be heated up. However, here we are heating things, or actually not heating. Of course, the core of the liquid is heated, core of the charge is heated. So that is heated for only one part. Of course, the current would pass through the, I would say, charge, and there would be heating. However, it is not mandatory that the current would pass through the whole charge and the whole charge would produce same heating. So we require some sort of churning action, and I would say stirring action. However, you see here, there is by itself there is a stirring action by which the, due to the magnetic field and the current through the charge would try to go downwards. And moreover, there would be a tendency of the charge, once that is heated and that melts. So due to that, there I would say weight would reduce, and due to that, that would come to the top. So usually for a salt bath furnace, or this sort of a furnace where the charge is carrying current, so there the bottomward tendency of going downward, that is higher compared to the tendency of going upward. So this stirring action by itself would continue, and the whole charge would be heated up. So now, for sometimes due to the current, sometimes the current may be low, because the magnetic field and the current, both of them are proportional to the current. Of course, the next point does not make any sense. So magnetic field is also proportional to the current. So that means the moving action or the downward motion, that is proportional to the square of the current. So if the current becomes a bit low, so in that case the churning action or stirring action may become a bit low. So in that case, we need to put some coil or some sort of extra stirring action, such that the charge is stirred and the whole body of the charge is, I would say, heated up thoroughly, or I would say evenly. So otherwise, in case of when the charge actually carries current, and that is called the direct heating, direct resistance heating for this case. And we would see later for arc heating, we would say, of course, the current would pass through the charge once again. So in that case, that would be called direct arc heating. So in direct arc heating also, there will be current through the charge, and due to the current through the charge and the magnetic field, there will be stirring action by itself. And usually, I am saying usually, the charge does not require any stirring action as such for this case. Otherwise, if the current is not passing through the charge, in that case, we may require the stirring action to be provided. So now let's move to, okay, my voice is breaking. So we will start discussing about indirect resistance heating in the next class. Okay. So in the meantime, I would request, okay, I hope there was no problem, or if you have any question, you can ask me. Please ask. Otherwise, I would consider that you understood everything. Okay. So I hope I don't remember. I hope I have sent you the material on the batteries. So
Yes, sir.
in between, I would request you to go through them because I don't see that there would be time for discussing that. Uh, and moreover, I am not that interested because the material is more or less self-explanatory. So if you require, you please go through them, and if you have any problem, you can ask me over mail or you can call me sometimes. However, it will be difficult to attend your call anytime because I may not be mentally prepared to answer you. So mentally and physically also. Sometimes I may be in between some work and or meeting in between. It would be difficult to attend your call. So in that case, I would request if you have any question, you can send me a mail that I would surely definitely answer you. Anytime you can send me a mail. Okay. So I request you please go through the battery part. Okay. If you have any question, you can ask me. And further, if you have any question on what we discussed, you can ask me. You can now, or you can send me a mail asking, putting your questions. So I will definitely try to answer. Not try. I will definitely answer you somehow, up to my capacity, of course. So this is up to this. We will meet in the next class, and we will continue with the electrical heating. So this is not this part is a bit long. That means this is around two times the chapter we are on the harmonics. So we need a few classes. Okay. So we'll meet in the next class.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
Thank you, sir.